How will the next president deal with illegal immigration and the path to legal citizenship? That was one of the hot topics at this week's Republican presidential debate.
Latinos are the fastest growing segment of American voters, and they're listening closely to the candidates' plans. Jennifer Wishon has the story.
¿Todos bien? Traigo saludos de México. Estuve ayer.
Jim Toll pastors La Iglesia en El Camino, a Hispanic evangelical megachurch in California. Many of his parishioners have been deported.
This is an issue, as you well know, that tears at the fabric of us Christians who believe that we're to reach out to our brother or sister in the manner in which Christ would reach out.
Arguably, immigration reform may very well be the most important issue in America's evangelical setting today.
Reverend Samuel Rodriguez is president of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference. He says the fastest growing segment of America's evangelical church lies embedded in the immigrant community.
So if you wake up in the morning and you identify yourself first and foremost as a Christian, as a born-again, Bible-believing Christian, then you should have a comprehensive biblical optic as it pertains to immigration reform.
One that he says reconciles compassion for the stranger with respect for the rule of law. Texas Governor Rick Perry has faced boos in several debates for his decision to allow undocumented teenagers to receive in-state college tuition.
We need to be educating these children.
Senator Santorum.
The boos and the ahas in that debate. Simultaneously, across households in America, you had Hispanic conservatives going, hallelujah and praise the Lord.
Rodriguez says he understands the candidates are against illegal immigration and amnesty, but he's asking them to sign a pledge that makes it clear they're for legal immigration and would be a president for Hispanic Americans.
These are pro-life, pro-biblical marriage, limited government, biblical worldview Hispanics who voted 44% for Bush in 2004.
We have to do a better job as evangelical Christians and as politicians on both sides of the aisle to be able to bring about healing on this. We need to enter into a dialogue.
It's an issue the next president will be pressured to address. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Well, I tell you, the Republicans had better get it together on this and stop bashing Hispanics. Big, big mistake. And they played a small coterie of extremists on one side who just scream and yell about, you know, immigrants and so forth. But these are human beings, and they need, you know, compassionate treatment. And Governor Perry had to run for election in Texas, and he knew where his bread was buttered. Huge population of Hispanics. Just think of where they are in Texas and in Arizona and in New Mexico and in California and in Utah, and then, of course, in Florida. There's a different dynamic. They're Cuban, but nevertheless, these people are very sensitive. They're natural Republican allies, and yet the Republicans seem to be intent on driving them away. Big mistake politically. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories. Lee?
Pat, Republican presidential candidate Rick Perry says he wants to get rid of America's current tax laws and switch to a flat tax. The Texas governor will provide details next week as part of his overall economic plan.
In 6 days, I'm going to release the details of an economic growth package that will create jobs, create growth, create investor confidence in America again. It starts with scrapping the 3 million words of the current tax code, starting over with something simpler, a flat tax.
Liberals say Perry's proposal would give tax breaks to the wealthy while making lower and middle income families pay more. Many conservatives, though, say a flat tax is fairer because it taxes everyone at the same rate. Critics across the political spectrum, though, agree the current tax code is complicated and full of loopholes. President Obama has wrapped up another bus tour designed to promote his jobs plan and win votes for re-election. This trip focused on the important swing states of North Carolina and Virginia. And Ephraim Graham went along.
The president is changing his strategy to get his jobs plan through Congress. He's breaking it into bite-sized pieces since the Democrat-controlled Senate rejected it as a whole last week.
One of the votes I'm going to urge members of Congress to take is on whether or not they think it's a good idea to give companies an incentive to hire the men and women who have risked their lives for our country.
President Obama ditched Air Force One in favor of this campaign-style tour bus to visit small towns in Virginia and North Carolina.
These members of Congress, they work for you. And if they're not delivering, it's time you let them know.
First Lady Michelle Obama joined the president for the event here at the military base in Hampton, Virginia. While the White House says this trip is all about the president's jobs bill, many see this as an important part of his re-election campaign.
Everything from now until November 2012 is going to be, to some aspect, about the campaign.
In 2008, the president won Virginia with 53% and barely won North Carolina with 50%. Many say he'll need those votes again next year to hold on to the presidency. It could be an uphill battle, with his approval rating sliding in both states. Recent polling shows only 42% of Tar Heel voters approve of his job performance. His approval rating stands at 45% in Virginia, where voters elected Republican Governor Bob McDonnell just 1 year after the state helped Obama take the White House.
He's blaming the Tea Party, House Republicans, Wall Street for the problems, but don't go out there and blame everybody else and say it's not my problem. You're the leader. Lay out a vision for people, because that's what the independent voters are voting on. It's no wonder that he's underwater, because they want to see results and they want to see less rhetoric.
The president hopes this personal touch will help him to reconnect with independents.
Who'd you vote for 4 years ago?
I voted for Obama.
You did? And if you were voting tomorrow?
Wouldn't vote for Obama.
Why not?
Just not been happy with exactly what he's done.
Who'd you vote for?
President Obama.
You voted for President Obama?
I did.
How are you feeling now?
I don't know that I know how I feel now.
The president knows Virginia and North Carolina are critical states. That's one reason why Democrats are holding their convention in Charlotte come next summer. Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Langley Air Force Base.
Yeah, Pat, a lot of folks in the pollsters focus on Ohio and California and Florida, but the question is, can Obama win re-election if he loses Virginia and North Carolina?
Well, trust me, he's going to lose Virginia and North Carolina. I don't think there's any question about it. The way Bob McDonnell won in a landslide, and part of it was anti-Obama sentiment here in Virginia. So I just can't see Virginia switching back to the whichever blue state column. But, you know, Lee, the thing that this current jobs package, it's a Band-Aid and a quick fix. That's all they're looking for is a quick fix. So you're going to change the payroll tax situation for a year or so. Then you're going to get people to hire, and then once they hire, then they've got those workers, and they're going to have to fire them. And many smart businesses say, no way. You get the economy going, and we'll feel some hope in the future. Take away some of these regulations and the threat of draconian taxes. Then we'll think about long-term hiring. But these quick fixes don't work. It's a spending situation like that last stimulus. We spent a huge amount of money, and it did no good. Did no good because it was short-term. And instead of tinkering at the edges, if they really got serious, they would reform the tax code and make this a more business-friendly place to be, and suddenly American industry would be unleashed and start to create what they're looking for. But it isn't going to happen with this bunch of socialists running the show who are always putting more regulations on people. They just can't stand not to be able to control people. And what America wants is freedom, and freedom will bring forth bountiful results. Well, let's go over to Europe now, where they still aren't taking my advice yet, Lee, about Greece.
Yeah, Greece is going to get another round of international bailout loans, but the second rescue package may not be enough to save it from bankruptcy. That's the conclusion of a draft report by debt inspectors from Europe and the International Monetary Fund. The inspectors say Greece has not cut back on spending as much as it promised, but Greece will still get its loans and avoid going bankrupt next month. Greek protesters took to the streets again today, angry with the government's spending cutbacks. The Greek government will soon vote on more cuts. Ousted Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi was reportedly captured when rebels took his hometown of Sirte today, and some reports say he has been killed. Libyan officials and NATO could not confirm those reports, but Reuters reports that a senior member of Libya's National Transition Council says Gaddafi died of gunshot wounds. The Libyan fighters drove Gaddafi's last supporters out of his hometown. They declared victory over the last major resistance 2 months after the fall of Tripoli. Pat?
We don't quite know. Again, if Muammar had taken my advice, he would have gotten on a helicopter, loaded it up with currency or some gold bars, and taken off to some friendly location. He didn't do it. I don't know why those dictators hang around. They see the handwriting on the wall. They know they're going to wind up getting killed or imprisoned. But instead of going to a safe haven, I don't know where a safe haven would be for a Muammar Gaddafi. Maybe he could have gone to Saudi Arabia. But he didn't do it, so if he's dead, that's too bad. Lee?
Antidepressant use in America increased almost 400% over the last 2 decades. A study by the federal government reports that 1 in 10 Americans take some kind of antidepressant drug. And an alarming statistic to come out of this research: primary care doctors are prescribing more and more antidepressants without consulting a therapist. Less than a third of those taking antidepressants report seeing a therapist within the past year. Antidepressants are the 3rd most common prescription drug in the U.S., Pat.
Well, Lee, I will get out my Prozac, and Terry and I will share a happy moment.
I'm good to go, but thanks.
Well, I'm good to go,
It's kind
too.
of you to share.
It's amazing. I mean, the American people are just basically, the message is stay stoned. I mean, just stay stoned and don't worry about what's going on in the world. Prozac, and what are some of the other antidepressants? That's the one I'm familiar with.
I don't know, but you know, it's interesting that we have so many blessings, and then to have depression be such a significant aspect of life here today.
You lose God, you lose hope, and God gives hope, and with hope comes praise and joy and happiness, because you have a future. If you don't believe in the Lord, you've got no future, and everything looks dark and gloomy. So I've got to have something to kill the pain. So away they go, and they use this term self-medicating. I'm not quite sure what all that entails, but it's not a very pleasant thing. And these
sad commentary.
Yeah, it really is. Okay.
A judge in Oklahoma temporarily blocks a new law aimed at reducing the number of abortions in that state. The measure imposes strict guidelines on doctors who prescribe abortion-inducing drugs and prohibits the use of off-label abortion medications. The judge's injunction prevents the bill from going into effect on November 1st. Opponents of the bill are thrilled with the judge's decision. They say that abortion-inducing drugs are common in the medical world. But attorneys for the state of Oklahoma say the drugs are dangerous and need to be used in strict accordance with Food and Drug Administration guidelines. The FDA says the deadly listeria outbreak in cantaloupe was probably caused by old packaging equipment at a Colorado farm. 25 people died as a result of that contamination. Investigators found positive listeria samples on equipment and fruit at Jensen Farms. The FDA says the farm had recently purchased used equipment that was corroded and difficult to clean. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.